Arsenal are in the Champions League final. Let that land for a second. The second time in the club's entire history. And I should be celebrating. I am celebrating. But there's something sitting in the back of my mind that I can't shake. Because last night, our goalkeeper nearly made sure we weren't going to Budapest at all. Two moments, two massive moments, where David Raya, our number one, our £40 million goalkeeper, put us in serious danger. And both times, Gabriel Magalhães had to throw his body in front of the consequences. So the question I keep coming back to is this: did Arsenal win that tie, or did Arsenal survive it? And I think the answer to that question matters a lot, because whoever is waiting for us in Budapest, Bayern Munich, or PSG, they will have watched every second of what happened at the Emirates last night, and they will have taken notes. So before we talk about Budapest, before we talk about what could go right, I want to be honest about what almost went very wrong. I'm Amelia. If you're new here, this channel is about Arsenal, the real Arsenal, not just the highlights, the honest version. If that's the kind of content you want, subscribe. It genuinely helps. And before we go any further, I want to ask you something. Drop it in the comments right now. Do you trust David Raya in a Champions League final? Yes or no? Simple as that. Because I have an opinion. And by the end of this video, I think you'll understand exactly why I'm asking. Let me start with the first half, because I think a lot of people in the relief of getting through are glossing over just how uncomfortable that opening 45 minutes actually was. Atletico came here with a plan. Simeone's teams always have a plan. And the plan was simple: press high, target the channels, put pressure on Raya's ability to play under intensity. And it worked. Not completely, but enough to make you nervous, enough to make you grip the armrest. Calafiori had a really difficult night. Llorente and Simeone Jr. were enjoying real joy down that right side of Atletico's attack, which is Arsenal's left. And Ricardo just couldn't get close enough, couldn't set his feet, kept getting turned. And when that happens, the pressure comes back inside. It comes back toward the goalkeeper. And that is where the problem lives. The first Raya moment. He comes off his line, doesn't claim the situation cleanly, and Simeone, the player, not the manager, is suddenly through on goal. In a Champions League semi-final at the Emirates, with the tie level on aggregate, Gabriel appeared from nowhere. He threw himself in front of that shot with everything he had. Last ditch, desperate, incredible. And I sat there thinking, we have literally just been saved by our centre-back. Then the second moment comes. Griezmann gets a shot away. Raya parries it. But he doesn't parry it wide. He doesn't parry it away from danger. He parries it straight back into a dangerous area. And again. Gabriel, launching himself in front of the ball. Two interventions, from a centre-back to cover for a goalkeeper. Now look, I'm not here to bury Raya. He's had big moments this season. He's saved us in games that mattered. I'm not pretending he's been a disaster, but I want to be honest about what I saw last night. Because a rating of 6 out of 10 in a Champions League semi-final, that is not a good number. That is a number that tells you the goalkeeper was a liability. And here's what worries me about that. Gabriel is one of the best defenders in the world, maybe the best, but he cannot do that again in the final. He cannot be the insurance policy for the goalkeeper, as well as doing everything else he needs to do against Bayern or PSG. At some point, the goalkeeper has to be the last line of defense. That is his job. That is the only job. And right now, I'm not convinced Raya can be that person in the biggest game of Arsenal's recent history. But here's the thing. Let's not talk about the problem without talking about what made Arsenal so good last night. Because there was real quality in this performance. There genuinely was. And it needs to be recognized. Declan Rice, 9 out of 10. I keep watching him in these high-pressure moments, and I keep thinking the same thing. This is what 40 million, 50 million, 60 million, whatever it was, this is what elite midfield looks like. That block early on, when Simeone was bearing down on goal and looked certain to score, Declan Rice just read the situation, got his body in the way, and killed the danger. That's not a tackle, that's awareness, that's positioning. That's someone who knows exactly where he needs to be at the exact moment it matters. And then the driving runs. Arsenal needed someone to carry the ball out of trouble in the second half, when Atletico were growing again, when the anxiety was building. And Rice just kept picking it up and going, 20, 25 meters at a time, breaking lines, forcing Atletico to reorganize. The corner delivery for the goal, the constant intensity, the leadership without the armband. 9 out of 10. And honestly, you could have made an argument for higher. And then there is a conversation about Miles Lewis-Skelly that I think is going to define the next few weeks. Because let me take you back to what happened before this game. There was turbulence around Lewis-Skelly. Something happened internally. I won't go into the details because I don't have all of them. But Arteta made a public statement. He defended this kid. He backed him, publicly, loudly, in a way that put both of them on the line. And then he started him. In a Champions League semi-final, 18 years old. Think about that. Think about the pressure that creates. Think about what it would feel like to walk out at the Emirates in that situation, with that backdrop, with everything at stake. And what did Lewis-Skelly do? He played like he belonged. That first half turn, picking up the ball, spinning away from his marker, driving forward, and whipping a ball across goal that should have been turned in. That was a Champions League level moment from an 18-year-old who had spent the week at the center of a controversy. 8 out of 10, and he could have had an assist. I've said before that this kid is different, that there's something about him that you don't see very often. Last night didn't change my mind. It confirmed it. And it raises a question that Arteta is going to have to answer before Budapest. Because Calafiori was 5 out of 10. He struggled. He got overrun. He gave the ball away. He looked uncomfortable all night. And Lewis-Skelly was 8 out of 10 on the other side, doing everything right. So is Lewis-Skelly starting the Champions League final? I actually think he might have to. Now let's talk about Saka, because the story of his goal is a bit more complicated than the clip makes it look. Atletico had a plan for Saka, triple up on him, take away his space, force Arsenal to find other solutions. And for long stretches of the game, especially that 15-minute spell after half-time, it worked. He barely touched the ball. He was marked out of the game. But that's the thing about Bukayo Saka. He doesn't need 30 touches to decide a match. He needs one moment, 1 second where the concentration drops, one parry from the goalkeeper that lands in the wrong place at the right time. And he was there, alert, present. The second Oblak's hands couldn't hold Trossard's shot, Saka was already moving, already reading the situation. One touch, goal. Arsenal are going to Budapest. That is what elite forwards do. They wait, they stay ready. And when the moment comes, they don't think about it. They just finish. But I want to come back to something, because the goal being scored doesn't erase the period before it, where Atletico successfully neutralized him. In a final against Bayern or PSG, that same defensive plan, triple him up, flood the channel, force Arsenal left, will be waiting for us. And this time, the opposition will be better at executing it. And the game might not produce a fortunate rebound at the right moment. So Arteta needs to think about that. How do you set Arsenal up so that Saka's influence isn't dependent on other people making mistakes? That is the tactical puzzle before Budapest. Then there is the Gyokeres question. And I want to spend real time on this because I think it matters. Victor Gyokeres was outstanding in so many ways last night. The runs in behind, the physicality, the way he occupied both centre-backs and created space for others. He was a genuine nuisance. He ran Atletico ragged. His run and cross ultimately led to the goal. 8 out of 10 is the rating, and that is fair, but he had a chance to make it 2-0. 1 versus 1, clear through, had to score. He didn't. And look, we've all seen strikers miss. It happens. The best in the world miss one-on-ones. That's football. But I keep thinking about what 2-0 would have meant. It would have meant the second half was calm. It would have meant Atletico chasing an impossible scoreline. It would have meant Raya's errors happened in a context where the tie was already safe. Instead, the game stayed at 1-0, and it stayed tight, and it stayed terrifying until the final whistle. In a Champions League final, that chance becomes the moment the video gets analysed for years. If Arsenal win, everyone laughs about the miss and moves on. If Arsenal lose, that moment lives forever. Gyokeres needs to know that. He needs to carry that into Budapest, not as pressure, as motivation. He needs to be the striker who finishes when it matters most, because against Bayern or PSG, the margins will be even smaller. Let me say something bold. And I mean it. David Raya is not a Champions League final goalkeeper. I'll say it again, clearly. Based on what I saw last night, based on the rating, based on the 2 moments where he put us in danger, based on the way he handles the ball under pressure, he is not the right goalkeeper for this moment. Now, Arteta does not have another option. There is no backup goalkeeper who can step in and be better. That decision has been made. Raya is our goalkeeper. But what I'm asking, what I think every Arsenal fan is quietly asking is, what happens if he has one of those moments in Budapest? Because Gabriel might not be there. Gabriel might be dealing with Vinicius, or Leroy Sané, or Harry Kane. He can't be everywhere. And that thought genuinely worries me. But here's where I want to shift the conversation slightly, because I've been critical. And I think the criticism is fair. But I don't want to leave this video feeling like I've undermined what Arsenal achieved last night, because that would be dishonest in the other direction. The Champions League final, the second time in our history, the first time since 2006. Saliba was an 8 out of 10 and barely gets mentioned in this conversation, but he was extraordinary. The pace to stop Alvarez getting away, the composure on the ball, the pass that carved open space for the goal, world class, genuinely world class. Ben White was an 8 out of 10, his best performance of the season. That relationship with Saka down the right, telepathic, the review said. And I'd agree. Every time White got the ball, you felt like something was possible. Trossard was 7 out of 10, composed, crucial. His shot that was parried, even that felt like it had intent behind it. This team, when it's right, has the quality to beat anyone in Europe. I believe that. I really do believe that. But believing in the quality and ignoring the vulnerabilities are 2 different things. And I'd rather go into this final with my eyes open than pretend last night was perfect. So let's talk about Budapest. Bayern Munich or PSG? Bayern are still in it. PSG are still in it. Both tie their semi-final second legs in the coming days. If it's Bayern, think about what that means for Arsenal's left side. Gnabry, Sané, Musiala, the runs in behind, the movement, the way they stretch teams horizontally. Calafiori at 5 out of 10 against Atletico would be seriously exposed by Bayern's speed. Does Lewis-Skelly start? Does Arteta trust the teenager in the biggest game? After last night, I think he has to. If it's PSG, it's a different problem. It's about their press, their intensity in the first 20 minutes, the way Dembele and Barcola come in waves. That's a different kind of pressure on Raya, a different kind of pressure on Rice. But the core question stays the same, regardless. Can Arsenal manage 30, 40, 50 minutes of sustained elite-level pressure without a moment where everything unravels? Last night told me they can, but it also told me how close to the edge they were. This is what I keep coming back to. This is the thing that won't leave me alone. Arsenal managed this tie. They didn't dominate it. They survived the hard moments. They took their chance when it came, and they held on. That is a form of winning. That is a legitimate legitimate way to win football matches, but it requires the margins to go your way. It requires Gabriel to make 2 impossible interventions. It requires Oblak to parry into exactly the right space. It requires Gyokeres' miss to not be punished. In a Champions League final, you cannot rely on all of those things happening again. Arteta knows this. He's been in finals. He knows the difference between a semi-final performance and a final performance. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Do you believe this Arsenal team can produce a final performance? Not a survival performance, not a semi-final performance, a final performance where they take control, where they impose themselves, where they don't need Gabriel to save the goalkeeper twice. Because I think they can, but I'm not certain. And I think that uncertainty is the most honest place to be right now. We're going to Budapest. For the second time in our entire history, Arsenal are in a Champions League final. And whatever my concerns about Raya, whatever questions I have about Gyokeres in big moments, whatever doubts I carry about the left side, whatever analysis I've laid out in this video, right now, tonight, in this moment, I'm proud of this team. Rice, Gabriel, Saliba, Saka, Lewis-Skelly, all of them. We earned this. In a 2-legged semi-final against one of the toughest defensive teams in Europe, on their ground and ours. Over 180 minutes of tension and pressure and moments that could have gone either way. We're in the final. And I want to believe. I really want to believe. But belief without honesty is just noise. So, Bayern or PSG? Who are you hoping we draw? And more importantly, do you trust Arteta to fix what needs fixing before May 30? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.